When it comes to watering your plants, it seems pretty straightforward, but as a newbie gardener, there's a couple of things that you might want to make yourself aware of when it comes to watering your seedlings especially. You've seen me use this all the time. Nothing wrong with using this when you've got plants that are like this and you just want to give them a quick watering, a ramp base. It's perfectly fine to do that. But when you get your salad packs that have just started to come up and look really well, you don't want to be doing that, because you're basically going to just flatten all these leaves down with the weight of water. A better thing to do with things like this is to bottom water with just a tray and just put a little bit of water in it, not a lot, an inch or so, and then you can just drop the old tray in there and it will soak up the water from the bottom straight to the roots. And you'll know when it's had enough water, because the top that was probably light brown when you put it in there will then be black because it's now saturated. So then after about 10 minutes or so, you want to take this out and get rid of the excess water, because you don't want your plants completely sodden at the base. Just give them 10 minutes and then take them out, and that way you've protected all these top leaves. Same as you would with your sweet corn, perfectly fine to use a sprayer on that. If you've just got a few in a row and you want to go down with your sprayer, perfect. But if you've got quite a lot of plants to do and you want to just get it out of the way and do it the right way, just get one of these. It's a compost tray, and I use these for bottom watering lots of plants all at once. So you just pop it on a level surface and add some water to it. Again, about an inch or so. And then when you've got your trays like this one's got pansies in it. And again, I don't really want to be blasting all these top leaves while they're trying to grow. So we can just pop them into this tray and leave them there. And again, something like this. Quite delicate leaves, and there's more leaf showing than pot. So it gets to be difficult to water them just around the base. So you can just drop this entire thing in, because these pots sit in this tray. And the tray has got holes in the bottom. So you can just drop your pot in, leave them there again, 10 minutes, and you're doing them all at once. Also, when you've got plants like this that are quite close together, bottom water those as well when you can. Because if there's any problems with any of these plants, you're basically splashing any potential disease with the water from one plant to another. Plus, if you could set up maybe a station permanently, or maybe a couple, depending on how many plants you actually grow, you could have these set up nice and level, set them up permanent, and then you can just drop all your plants in wherever they need watering, and you're going to save yourself a lot of time as well by doing that. And ideally, if you had one of these set up outside, it could collect rainwater, which is better than tap water. But if you don't want one of these outside, then maybe you could get yourself some kind of a container that you can just have sat outside collecting rainwater, and then you can bring it in and use it in your trays or in your sprayer as well. And especially with the weather now being like it is, bordering on 75 come next week, watering is going to be critical to your plants. So the quicker you can do it, the better. Also, your hanging baskets, they can dry out pretty quick in this kind of weather, so you need to stay on top of watering with those. But obviously, to put them in this tray is not going to be very effective at all, because although it will quite happily stand in there, there's only a tiny little bit at the bottom that's actually in water. what would be a better choice for something like this, if you can get hold of them, and I will try and find some for you and leave a link in the description, is some of these. They're called watering globes. Basically, you just fill it with water and then you place it into the centre of your basket and push it into the soil like that. So you just push it into the compost and it will hold itself up. Now, as this basket starts to dry out, it will start taking water from this globe, and then you'll be able to see it gradually going down. But it's a convenient way to water your baskets, because you just fill it, put it in, and every time you pass, every other day, have a look, make sure it's still got some water in it. I've used these before and I've gone away for 2 days on a trip, and then when I've come back, there's still been just a little bit of water left in this, so it's fed this basket for 2 days. So that's a really good option. So fill it, hang it, forget about it for a few days. Obviously not all your plants are going to be in trays, so you won't have the option to bottom water some of them, especially if they're in containers like this. So the hose pipe will probably be your only option for certain things. But when you come to plants like these French beans, they're quite delicate, the leaves, and you have to make sure you water these at the right time of day, because if you water these and then it gets really hot, these leaves will bleach. They'll turn a really pale yellow. Obviously that's not good for the plant. So in these sort of situations, ideally you want to be watering your plants first thing in the morning when it's cool, or later on in the evening. Same thing goes for your grass areas as well. If you water them when the sun's at its hottest in the day, you could bleach the grass. And when you've got things set up like this as well, you want to be just using a sprayer on this and just spraying inside, all around the bottom, because these flowers are so delicate. If you top water them, you're just going to squash all your plants down and they're not going to look very good at all. So when it comes to your little seedlings like this as well, I still use the pressure sprayer on these, because I can just spray just around the base, so I know it's got enough because it's only a tiny seedling. But you don't want to just blast the entire pack, because these will knock down quite easily, and 9 times out of 10, if you flatten them to the pack, they won't get back up, so you've just lost your seedling. So if you've got quite a few of these that you're wanting to do, again, place them in a tray and bottom water them. Like these ones that I use, where I'm just growing a fresh batch of sweet bell peppers, multi-sowing them into trays like this to save space, but these trays have holes in the bottom, so I can just pop some water in there, drop in the tray, and everything is then going to get a watering, and you're not splashing water from leaf to leaf in such a confined area. When you put them in the water, obviously you'll know they've had enough, because the soil's going to go really dark, as opposed to this one, which is quite light because it's not had any water. But if you're not sure, just push your finger in, and if there's any moisture at the lower level, then it might be alright and still not need watering. But your biggest giveaway is the colour and also the weight. Also bear in mind, with things like chilies and bell peppers, they don't like to be constantly wet. They do actually like to dry out at some point. So when you've got your peppers like that with the really dark compost, I would leave these for possibly 3 days, as long as it's not really hot. Just keep an eye on them, keep an eye on the weight and the colour of the soil, because as I said, they don't like to be constantly wet. And another one is, if you look at this one, this chili pepper, it is quite light, and the compost is not dark, so this probably needs watering. But as well as judging whether it does or whether it doesn't, because they do like to dry out, they will always give you a clue, because the leaves will start to droop. If it's too dry and it needs some water, you'll see all the leaves will start to droop down. Then you need to definitely get some water, but ideally don't let it get to that stage. And as we talked about before with damping off, multi-sown things like this, if you're just going to spray that with water, first thing you're going to do is squash it all flat. Second thing you're going to do is give it a chance for disease to start growing, because everything is so close together. So another one, definitely to bottom water when you can. So for something that seems pretty straightforward, there is a few bits and bobs that you can do to help yourself, and more importantly, help your plants. And especially if you're a newbie gardener that might not be aware of certain things that we've gone over in the last few minutes. So if I do find any links for the watering globes for your hanging baskets, and also you can use those in containers obviously as well, and the big watering trays to put multiples of plants in all at once for watering, I will put links in the description just in case you might want to get yourself a couple. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I really appreciate you viewing as well. And if you want to see what else we do over the next few months, then just hit that subscribe button and press that notifications bell, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a nice weekend. Thank you.